What's going on, everybody? This is SLTV. Thank you for joining us here. We got Sang Lucci and the professor,
What's
Charlie
up, guys?
Bassgate, in the house.
How are you?
He's at the office out in New York, the new office out in New York. I'm home. I am home, waiting for a new house and new office and all that kind of stuff. What are we talking about today, Charlie?
We got a lot to talk about. So, guys, some of you are coming on, and you're waiting for us to announce the winner of the Sang Lucci Scholarship.
True.
It is kind of a good news and bad news. Bad news is we're not going to announce it right now because the good news, we had a huge outpouring. We had over 75. I think we actually got up to 80 applications for it, which is very cool considering we give out one scholarship. Ezra over here sitting to my left, he went to Harvard, and that's a tougher acceptance rate than Harvard, just so you know. So Sang Lucci is now at that level.
Yo,
So
did you get a new camera? Did you actually get a new one?
not yet. Is it looking better?
Yeah, it's looking a lot better than that shitty Mac you had.
Could be the haircut, Could be the haircut.
Could be.
So anyways, guys, so we're going to announce that on Thursday, okay? We're announcing it on Thursday. In the meantime, though, after this, today, tomorrow, we're actually going to be doing, kind of going back to what we used to do. We used to do a lot of specifically educational webinars, right, where we were really honing in on one thing, and we were creating, a little more of a presentation for it beforehand instead of kind of us going off the cuff. And there's a time and place for everything. We like being casual and informal with things sometimes, like we are now. But there's also a time for us to really put something together and structure it and give you guys a really good piece of free education. So tomorrow at 4:30, you guys will be seeing links on Twitter and via email. We're going to be doing a presentation, the first in a four-part webinar series. And basically, Lucci's going to be talking about why it's such a big deal that he trades options the way he does, right? Trading options almost entirely, not entirely, but primarily based on the underlying, right? And that's a big deal. Most people who trade options don't approach it like that, right? And it facilitates, certain elements of his strategy, and it just changes things a lot. So we're going to be diving into that tomorrow, 4:30. Make sure you guys either get the recording or catch it live tomorrow.
All right.
So, but yeah, without any further ado, today's topic is technical analysis, right? And we're going to have a lot more to say on this in the future, because this is like, you can never talk about technical analysis without just getting crazy controversy popping out, right, Luch?
Yeah.
But someone was making the point to me the other day that technical analysis is widely taught not because it is so much more effective, right? I'm not saying it's not effective, right? There's a time and place for technical analysis. But it's so widely taught not because it's more effective, but it's because it's so much easier to teach, right? And Luch, you've been teaching traders for what, the past 5 years now, maybe?
Yeah, 5 years. I taught myself. I mean, obviously that's the first thing that you learn about, and as you said, I mean, it's easy. It's easy to pick up. It's easy to pick up sort of indicators that you can just outlay on your chart here and sort of get a reading, and use that to buy or sell a stock. I think when it came out, it was useful here because everybody was really tracking it, everybody was following it, everybody was using it. And now we're in a place where the advanced complexity of the market it ends up using the technical analysis that most retail traders use against them. And as far as the strategy that I teach, tape reading, it's a complicated strategy to teach. It's not it's not the easiest thing to pick up here, and
Right.
it's not something that you can easily like look in a book, read what it is, and be like, okay, yeah, I can make a trade tomorrow based solely off that particular strategy.
Right.
So tape reading to teach somebody how to read or understand buyers and sellers is essentially teaching somebody a capitalistic market, right? Is essentially teaching them how to read a capitalist market. So it's really like taking a class, like an upper level 300 level course at at school, at higher education here, at college,
Your
where
economics.
it's going to take you years, essentially. And obviously, I don't want to say years. I've been able to, teach people how to do this within a couple of months. But it takes you a certain amount of time of using the discipline to figure out really how it works. So, what I teach is not easy.
Right.
Technical analysis is very easy to teach.
Well, the comparison that was getting brought up was also like dieting, right? So I think actually maybe I did. It was either Roy or you made the comparison. Roy, you or me made the comparison about dieting. It's like there's diet books out there that's like you want to lose 50 pounds, stop eating bread for no carbs for however long and you'll lose it, and it works for like a couple months, right? You see temporary results. And it's a very easy sell, right?
Right.
But that just doesn't work, right? It's much harder to sell taking someone to like a nutritionist or a physical personal trainer, and really grilling them on like this is how your body works, this is how nutrition works. Like that's a much harder sell, right? And that's kind of how I look at tape reading versus technical analysis sometimes, especially some of the popular types of technical analysis with more fluff than
Right. And it's not to say that technical analysis is not useful. It's not to say that, it's a strategy that you shouldn't learn. But with the evolution of the markets here comes evolution of strategies. Comes traders needing to adapt to a different environment.
Right.
And right now we are in the thick of that new environment, where technical analysis often leads you to far more pitfalls and busted trades
yeah.
than ever before.
Yeah,
And
you want to back that a little bit. Like you talk about that and how it's easy to walk into a setup that's sort of based on technical analysis, right?
Right.
It's harder to set up a tape reader than someone who's relying entirely on technical analysis. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. You kind of cut off right there. So rephrase that one for me.
My bad. You talk a little bit about technical analysis. If everyone's looking at the same points, right?
Yeah.
Well, this stuff is popularized and well known. Market makers, the guy who's taking the other side of your trade, who has a vested interest in setting you up,
Right.
wow, they know what levels you're looking at for the most part, right? I mean,
yeah. So again, this is with the complex environment that we live in right now. We live in an environment where it's after 2007 and after certain changes in regulations of the market, and after computerized trading really took over. Market making is now being done by computers. Everything is being automated. There began this huge payment for order flow, right? And you have a situation where the business model for a place like Fidelity, for a place like Interactive Brokers, for a place like E-Trade, the business model relies on selling that order flow. So
right.
You as a retail person who's, let's say, trading at E-Trade, or let's say doing options or whatever, using your technical analysis, imagine. And remember, you have the same training as most other retail. You think the same way from a behavioral standpoint. So all of that order flow is being tracked, it's being looked at, it's being analyzed, it's being played against, it's being analyzed to the friggin' fraction of a penny for any possible edge whatsoever, right? I mean, we're talking about pennies of edge, maybe a 5 cents of edge, whatever it is. So whenever you place your order, it is already being tapped, analyzed for how much edge it has, and it is being that edge is being taken away slowly, inch by inch, on every trade that you make through any retail platform, through any order execution that you decide to make.
Right.
So in that environment, it obviously begs the question here, if herd mentality and all that kind of stuff, if it's being tracked so well and it's being understood so well,
right.
then how can technical analysis have the same success that it had 10, 15, 20 years ago before these changes happened? I mean, logically, it's not possible. It's literally not possible.
Right, and you have to think about, too, like, you think about the market as a product, right, that they're selling, right? When everything became about commissions and payment for order flow, stuff like that, they're the only point, and when exchanges became for-profit entities, the point is just volume, right? How do you get more volume? You got to get more people trading, right? How do you get more people trading? You got to make them think that they can do it successfully, right? Well, how do you accomplish that? You put a nice sort of visual in front of people, some sort of pattern, or whatever. You say, as long as you see that pattern, things might go. You can make money, right? You just have to find these patterns, right? And again, guys, Lucci uses some technical analysis. Like there's a time and a place for it, but we get a lot of people in our classes who come in and they kind of get their mind blown when they understand how much more robust their trading strategy and adaptable their trading strategy becomes once they add something to the repertoire beyond just relying on patterns.
And I think that's the key right there for any trader who wants to survive, in this particular market, and this sort of advanced market. You literally have to adapt. It's no longer okay to just have these technical analysis tools in your back pocket. It's no longer okay. You cannot survive simply with that. You need further understanding of structural issues, of all the changes, of how the market actually moves up and down. Understanding how larger players interact with the market, understanding how market makers work, understanding how the other side is trying to game you and trying to steal that edge that again you think you have here.
Right.
And that's the part of that's the sort of added piece of the equation that we offer, that we focus on. And as you said, I mean, a lot of my students, they'll come to the classes and they'll be like, so you're not going to teach us at all about technical analysis? And I'm like, yeah, because you can pick up a book at your freaking library for free and you can read all about it. What would you know what I mean? Like, why would I offer you something that you can get literally if you just Google it? You know what I mean? Like, what value would I be giving you if I just gave you some shit that was online posted on joeschmoblogspot.com? You know what I'm saying? Like, or every page of Investopedia. Like, you can sit there and do that all yourself. So the game has adapted. It has evolved. And you either have to evolve with it or you get swallowed up.
Well, and yeah, it's like from a business, like from our standpoint, right? Like we're running a business here, educating people, right? And it's not just trading what we're doing here. So how are we supposed to ask people, hey, pay $2,000 to learn from us? What you can learn in a textbook, right?
Right. For free. Yeah, legit, like for free.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah. So I think, and what you touched on there is a lot of what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Meaning Wednesday, more formally, is that sense of like edge, right? And your migration from starting with equities going to options, like, was really a search for just like, how can I make money that's going to change my life, right? How am I going to make life-changing money? If I only have, I don't know how much money you actually had when you made the switch from equities to options.
Yeah, I only had, I had about 50 grand to my name. When I changed, I had about 50 grand in my name. That was it.
Right. So, that we talk a lot about how the equities game. It's strange. It's hard to explain to people how forces outside of the markets, political stuff, regulatory stuff, have changed the markets and what strategies work within the market so much. I feel like sometimes people have this tendency to think about the markets as just like this self-contained ecosystem, right? It's almost isolated off from obviously news events and whatnot will completely change stock prices and stuff, but like certain things are always going to be true about them, and that's not the case, guys. Like, the markets are constantly changing in very fundamental ways, right? I mean, it's funny. I'm in New York. My dad's here visiting, and he used to trade, equities in the 80s, and he's talking about spreads. Like, first of all, it used to be that no customers, at least in the OTC stocks that he was trading a lot, customers couldn't see the best bidder offer, right? Like, customers couldn't see that on the market.
Right.
Think about that concept right now. That's ludicrous for people to consider. And then you go to the extent of, spreads were huge, right? I mean, market makers just made a killing. And there's a lot of people who built their whole lives on that concept of being like, this is never going to change, right? Well, it's not going to change until it does change. And
Yeah.
you know,
One point that you made about Edge, when you have a world of people that don't have access to the national best bidder offer. By the way, there was no such thing as the NBBO. Like that
right,
was a new concept
right,
in '07, right? It was the new concept to consolidate everything and
right,
make sure everybody who had access to the markets had the same fucking NBBO, right? So you 20 years ago you had no idea where the national or where your best bid or best offer was, right? And nobody even had access to the information to begin with.
right,
Imagine how much you could game a motherfucker just on that principle alone. With spreads, with fractionalization, right? You have gigantic spreads to
right,
game the shit out of everybody who wanted to buy or sell a stock, and anybody who wanted to buy or sell a stock at that time was retail. So you had this explosion of retail money that came into the game once things started to get electronic and they could send their orders in electronically. But
right,
there was so much advantage here to being a market maker 10, 20 years ago. I've
right.
even heard of market makers that have dropped out of the game. They say there's no edge anymore for them. These are the big players. These are guys who have a bankroll. These are guys who are superbly more educated than the retail guy off the street. So you got guys like that getting cleaned out and saying, "Oh shit, we can't figure out how to make money anymore in this market." You even have HFT guys who can't figure out how to make money in this market.
I,
Who can't figure out how to code correctly and understand this market. So you got a whole world of people that continually just get lopped off if
right,
they don't adapt, if they don't adapt to the new sort of environment.
right. And actually, we did a good interview with Chaim and Stritty. I did an interview with them. Stritty is one of our friends from Chicago, very good trader. If you guys Google, under the hood market maker obligation Sang Lucci, right? Like that interview will come up. If you want to
Yeah.
learn about this stuff, it's a good one. But yeah, I mean, so guys, what's the takeaway from here, right? If we're trying to give you one thing to walk away with, it's not to say to tell anyone who's trying to teach you technical analysis to go screw themselves, right? I mean, that's not what we're saying. What
Right.
we're saying is be aware of, I guess, that you're sort of always being sold something, right? You're always being marketed something, right? And if people are telling you something and it sounds kind of too good to be true, like if there's money to be made without work to be done and whatnot, then it's too good to be true. Like the markets are global markets right now. There are way too many hands in the pie to make it so that it's non-competitive. So that all you have to do is look at and see a little pattern in the markets, and you can put on a bet and make money. I mean,
Right.
come on.
Right.
So I guess what we really question people to do is push people to do is question things, right? Question what the motivations could be behind certain things happening, and like we just kind of tracked it back right there. I mean, getting a lot of technical analysis strategies out there is a really good way to facilitate a lot of retail volume, and anymore, that's a lot of what the markets move on is retail volume.
Absolutely.
So yeah, guys. I mean, that brings us about to the 20-minute point. Do we want to take some questions on Twitter, Luch, or do we even?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple. I think there's a couple coming in. There's one from at Turtle Trader here. I think he's one of the class members. How do you keep yourself calm when a large trade is going for or against you in a big way? This is quite appropriate here, considering how miserable of a month, this month and last month has been for me. Um, and that's all experience, man. And when we talk about edge here, we're talking about technical analysis. I mean, it doesn't matter what strategy that you have. You're going to go through your good times. You're going to go through your bad times. I mean, as long as you've been through it a couple of times, you know how to deal with it. You know how to stomach it. You know how to keep it moving. So, for those folks who, let's say are going through a bad patch, and there's a lot of them, by the way, just by the way the market's trading right now. All you have to do is survive. All you have to do is survive until that volatility or until that type of market where you do well comes back, and it'll always come back. And that's the psychological aspect of the game, where HFT guys and algo guys, that's where their edge is, because they can take the psychology out of the game, right? I mean, you and I, or any of these traders on Twitter. having a psychological edge is almost fucking impossible.
Yeah.
Unless you're a machine, or unless you really have it down pat and you're sold on the goal that you're going after, and you're not enticed by the daily sort of temptations of being a human here, of wanting to, wanting money now versus later, or all these little things that
This
you
is a
know
random example, just
yeah, just a random example. It has nothing to do with me, of course. It has fucking nothing to do with me. So again, that's sort of the edge from the HFT algo perspective, when they can take that emotion out of trading. But that doesn't mean they're automatically profitable either. They still have their whole game to deal with. They still have to adapt constantly, because they're fighting 18 other algos, 1,800 other algorithms that are going for that same edge that they're going after.
Right.
So they have a whole different game to worry about. But how do you keep yourself calm, man? It's just experience. That's all, experience.
It's experience, yeah. And I mean, yeah, Lucci, guys, like one of the first things you notice about Lucci when you meet him, or when you first start talking, whatever, is like he tests you, man. Like he'll throw stuff at you. He'll kind of try and push you out of your comfort zone. I mean, he'll just question you, because he's looking at he's like a radar detector for people who just have a sense of like insecurity to them. One that is, it's fine. Everyone has insecurities, whatever. I know, and Lucci totally acknowledges that, but it's like one that they're not acknowledging, right? Like something that they're not looking in the face. Because I think, this is my read on it, Lucci, but from your personal experience, it's like, for you to get where you are now, to be as successful as you've been, as an entrepreneur, as a trader, like you've had to have unflinching confidence that you would get back up after you got smacked down, right? And that happened.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the life that you chose. With 2 occupations where you're just going to get slapped around a decent amount.
Yeah, yeah, and with today, and with Twitter, and with all this sort of form of media where you can voice your opinion, you have so many people that have no business saying what they're saying, and 20 years ago, literally nobody would have listened to them at all, and actually they would have gotten their asses kicked, for even saying some of the things that they're saying. So you have a world of people here that shout to the heavens that they can handle it, they can deal with it, or they've already have, and to be truthful, 70 to 90% of it is bullshit. It's complete bullshit, as well as people. So somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'm ready to do this, blah blah blah." I dig into it a little bit, and I start pushing the right buttons. I get the answers that I need, and I can save myself the time, from dealing with somebody that that isn't who they say they are, and doesn't have the capabilities that they claim to have, especially the mental toughness. That's what I'm looking for, and that's what I'm going after. So if a trader that comes to my classroom, I can tell by the questions that they ask. I can tell by the comments that they make. For whatever that I'm teaching. In my chat room, I can tell immediately who's going to last, who's going to stick around, who's going to be in my private chat room. I can tell immediately. It's like when girls say they know within 5 seconds if they're going to have sex with you or not. That's what it is. It's the same shit, right? You see, you hear girls say that shit all the time. Yep. Oh yeah, I knew 5 seconds. I knew within 5 minutes if I was going to sleep with you or not. The question is, did you follow through? Did you say the right things? Blah blah blah, all that shit. Same thing.
Yeah, it's like, is the potential there? Yes, and then there's certain things that need to happen for that outcome to happen, right? It's the same thing whether sex is, or trading, right? And this is one of the things that we really feel like differentiates us, is just we push the guys the guys and the girls who are in our courses, right? It's not, you're not getting it's we take the white gloves off, I guess, is the euphemism I'm looking for. Like, we really do push people to get the most out of themselves, because otherwise, what are you wasting everybody's time for?
Definitely.
It's not an easy business. So
definitely. So yeah. So to cap it all off here, guys, we do have a free webinar. I'm not sure if it's going to be. Oh, well, actually, Charlie, why don't you tell them all? I mean, what's it going to be on? How do they register? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, guys. So we're still working out the technology exactly which way we're going to do it,
Okay.
but no matter what, the link is going to be on the SLTV website. So sanglucci.com, sanglucci.com/TV. It'll be there. You'll be able to access it tomorrow, 4:30. And yeah, we're talking about basically a core part of what makes Lucci Lucci, what makes him so different from so many options traders, and a core part of why he's been so successful, right? Trading an option essentially as though it's an equity, right? That's a gross oversimplification of it, but that's sort of the core of what we're starting with, and we're going to build from there into 3 subsequent webinars. The next one will be Friday. We're going to have a really cool special guest on, a guy who's traded alongside Lucci for about 3 years. This is going to be a series that I think you guys are going to learn a ton from. I'm excited about it. So
Great.
make sure you join us tomorrow, SLTV, 4:30.
All right, watch Twitter and watch SangLucci.com. We'll get you the links and everything so you can attend, guys. All right, thanks for joining. We'll
Or
check you out on Thursday for the mailbag.